Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the JLJ podcast. It's your boy, Jacko, and my hero man, JVK.
How's it going, guys?
Also here with Matho.
G'day.
And Festival of Footy is finally over. The fun times are over, and we're here to review all those last games, which were very exciting. Matho, you'd like to kick us off with the games we forgot about?
Yeah, so as we did the podcast bit midweek, wasn't it, Jacko?
Yeah.
Monday night reveal. So it's pretty good. But we missed the last 4 games of round 11. So we'll quickly, St Kilda, Geelong. I think Geelong, comfortable win, 59 points.
Yeah, it was big.
Freo Hawthorn, Freo by 16, which was also a bit of, would you call it an upset?
No, I wouldn't say upset. I'd say the young Freo players really stood up. Brayshaw, Chera, Sarong, all really good.
Their midfield's looking good for the future.
Yeah. Adelaide, Collingwood. Adelaide have a bit of a scared of the Pies, but they ended up winning by 4 goals.
Mm-hmm.
And Vika, your Dons draw with the Suns.
Oh, golly. That just... to be fair, we drew. I thought we were going to get smashed. I guess that's a positive you can look at. You get 2 points out of it. I guess there's positives. Just would have been great to get a win in that one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Rankin tried to be the hero as usual.
Yeah.
I really dislike him.
Mm.
Really
All
dislike
right, so go on to the
Yeah.
Sydney GWS game, Jacko.
All right, kicking off round 12. It was the big Sydney derby, and what about that for the big upset? Sydney coming out and dominating.
Yeah.
You know, probably, I would say, yeah, definitely the biggest upset of the week. And, you know, boys, GWS finals hopes, are they gone?
I don't think so.
I reckon
think so?
then their run home is a little bit tough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who they've got, but off memory, I think they've got Richmond. I think Brisbane as well. Jacko, correct me if you haven't played them already.
No, we have played them.
Oh, well,
So-
my bad then.
So, yeah, but I don't think GWS will make it. Matthew, I think you're right.
I still think that they'll finish 8th. The top 7 right now will stay for me. And I think it'll be between Melbourne, Bulldogs and GWS to get that 8th spot. And GWS will just clinch it at the end, I reckon. I reckon they've just got the quality of players to get there.
Yeah, all the big names are not working together, which was
Definitely.
really big. And, you know, it really showed for just some of Sydney's youth. Like Luke Parker, you know, leading from the front, getting the 3 votes, really good. And this young man, Rowbottom, he's going to be an absolute superstar for the Sydney Swans in the future. The midfielder got the long hair, and he's starting to dominate for them at an early stage. He's got the 2 votes. And of course, Josh Kelly, we give him the 1 vote. Had a strong game for the midfield. Probably only GWS's only, you know, good player. You know, considering Whitfield was quiet, Taranto was quiet, Canigulo was quiet. You know, Nick Haynes didn't do much. So, you know, some concerning signs for GWS, and I think you're right, boys.
Definitely.
The season is over. But
Yeah, I was just looking then. They've got West Coast, Fremantle. I've just gotten off it. Carlton, Adelaide, Melbourne, and St Kilda. So
yeah, so you think they lose to West Coast, and then I think
They
it'll be
beat
very
Freo.
close. Yeah, they beat Freo, Melbourne, Freo, Adelaide, Carlton and stuff. But then that good last 2 games, St Kilda and Melbourne, you know,
The Melbourne game's might be
Yeah.
huge. Might turn out to be massive near the end of the
definitely
season.
could be.
I reckon Freo at Optus might be a bit of an upset. GWS was shocking at Optus against Sydney.
Mm,
Definitely
true.
possibility, yeah.
just never know.
We'll have to wait and see.
Matho on to another dominant performance from Geelong.
Yeah, Geelong and Big Tomahawk.
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon he's the best full forward in the game right now?
On form, yeah, but I still wouldn't say he's the best.
Yeah, I think Charlie Dixon now with his inaccuracy and stuff. I think it's better than him and Kennedy now as the 2 leading forwards.
Yeah, for sure. Do you reckon Port? Do you reckon they're kind of pretenders when it comes up against big teams?
No, I don't think so. You know, they beat Richmond comfortably. You know, they've beaten GWS earlier on the season.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think they are bad at all. Still think they'll make their top 4 probably. The run home isn't too bad for them. And, you know, if they can get some games at Adelaide Oval, you know, very dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go out-coached, I reckon, against Chris Scott. Scott was just... Hey, there was a stat on that Matthew Lloyd brought up the other day. It was like Scott's home and away season win percentage is the best of all time,
Probably.
which was a pretty impressive stat. He was number one out of every coach ever. Just would be good for Geelong supporters to see them convert that into a premiership since how long has it been? Maybe 8 years, maybe? When did they win their last one?
2011.
Yeah, been
I
about
think
9
something like
years.
that.
Yeah.
Good maths,
Yeah.
VK.
Yeah, I'm good at maths.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I think that's
I
been their
think-
problem. Considering, last year I finished off the ladder, straight sets, always been a good team throughout the thing. It's, ever since that loss to Hawthorn 2013, I guess has come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What about Cam Guthrie, though? 27 touches and a goal. I think recently he's been in some good form.
Yes, yeah.
Good. And Geelong's midfield of Dangerfield, Meningola, Guthrie, obviously. It's good to have
Duncan.
Selwood back out there. Not that Selwood really did much, but
Duncan,
big name player. Yeah, Mitch Duncan.
Parford running through there.
Yeah, exactly. And Parford's tackling.
Yeah.
I reckon he's one of the best tacklers in the game.
Mm.
His pressure is probably one of the best in the game.
Absolutely.
But my prediction of Geelong winning the premiership is looking more and more likely. I'm still sticking by it. I'm back in Geelong.
Yeah.
It's not a bad prediction at all.
I did say a couple of weeks ago that Geelong were no hope of winning the premiership. After these two really impressive wins, you just never know.
And like Big Bruce McAvaney said, I think he'd love to see Dangerfield on the big stage in the grand final, and I think everyone would. I think he'd stand up in a big game and be a good watch.
Absolutely. I'll throw the quick votes. That game.
Yeah, the votes. Hawkins gets a 3. I think
Dominant.
Big effort, 6 goals. I think that warrants 3 votes. Dangerfield 2. He was big. And Cam Guthrie as well. Like I mentioned earlier, he was good as well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matthew, you did speak about one of the best tackler game in Parford. I think he's only topped by this man that collected the 3 votes in the North West Brisbane game. Jed Anderson, the young man, is going to be a superstar. His pressure around the ball is absolutely elite, and he got the 3 votes in the North Brisbane game, which was, the worst game of the round, really. Brisbane, absolutely shocking, considering that, all their outs they have, Scott making those big calls of, Pollock out, Brown's obviously injured, dropped Pittard, Cunnington's injured, Zeebel's injured, Tarrant was out, just really poor by Brisbane and lucky to go with that 1-point win. What were your boys' thoughts on it?
Chris Fagan, he got right into him at halftime, didn't he? I think it was good to see. I think both coaches got into him at halftime, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I think Chris Fagan after the game said he didn't give him a spray. It was sort of just more of a pump up, and he was sort of surprised as well. He didn't realise that that he was being recorded. He's in the press conference after the game. It's like, oh, you guys saw that? He's just like, oh, was there audio? And they're like, no. It's like, oh, thank God, because you must have been saying some things that weren't appropriate for TV.
Definitely, yeah. 100%.
But yeah, it wasn't a great game. As we said, Jed Anderson got the 3 votes. Really good. Hawthorn, probably wishing they didn't get rid of him a couple of years ago, considering that how struggling their midfield is going now. Jared Lyons got the 2 votes. Best probably pickup of all time from a delisted, you'd think. And also he gave 1 vote to Todd Goldstein, who, even though Big O was really impressive, considering, he's now become, Brisbane's #1 ruckman and, is now a respectable ruckman in the competition. But Todd Goldstein, #1 ruckman in the competition at the moment, by a lot of people's standards, he was just really good around the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
VK, move on to, another great game, the Melbourne Collingwood.
An absolute smashing. You look at the list beforehand with the injuries that Collingwood have. You look at that list name by name. You're like, Melbourne should win by that much, but we've seen Melbourne not perform with the names that they have together. But it all worked for them this week for the D's. In that game, Collingwood's injuries, as we've been saying throughout the season, you can't blame everything on injuries, obviously, but their injuries are just so key. Also, boys, our fries, boys, Petrarca and Wiedemann continuing
Yeah.
Really
great
good
form.
lately.
Do you boys think? I don't. As I said before, I think GWS will get that 8th spot and Melbourne will just miss out. But do you boys reckon Melbourne are finals bound?
Yes, Melbourne are a better side than GWS.
Yeah, right now, I reckon Melbourne are a better side. Shout out to Mrs. Smith if you're listening. Smitty, how are you?
Ready?
And but yeah, I reckon Melbourne are finals bound.
Mm-hmm.
Their list on paper has looked good the past few years, and I think finally they are starting to work well together. I think a few more pickups, like another big name forward and maybe a big defender, I think they'd be fully set. Stephen May has kind of gone missing. He was picked as probably one of the best defenders when he got traded to Melbourne, and you don't really hear of him much anymore.
He's still a good defender, I think.
Yeah, he's still a good defender, but I think when he first got traded, it was made out like he was a...
Yeah, he's not a top 5.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he ever was, but yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So the votes for this game, boys, Oliver for 3, Brayshaw, who getting back into form.
Yeah, really good
with
to see.
2, and Petrarca with 1. So just a midfield domination from Melbourne against the struggling midfield of the Pies.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Matho, game of the season, Fremantle Carlton.
Oh, Jacko, game of the season is an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the umpiring first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, the AFL has come out and said that a couple of decisions in the dying minutes were incorrect, but it's not the first time decisions have been wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was a disgraceful decision. Just want to put that out there. Firstly, it was.
I don't think disgraceful is the right word. I think it wasn't the right decision, but it wasn't that bad.
Exactly.
Brayshaw does hit him after the ball, so I think that does get paid 9 times out of 10 in the first quarter, but in the 20 seconds left in the last quarter, I don't think you pay it.
And in the first quarter, Freo got awarded 2 free kicks directly in front of goal that were not there. So if you're gonna, not that warrants anything to be rewarded, like I'm not sure what the word is to repay the debt of a shitty free kick, but the only decision that the AFL have come out and said was wrong, that Jack Nunes was a person that shouldn't have taken the kick.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful kick, though.
Oh, exactly.
Beautiful kick.
Being a Carlton supporter, I'm not. Honestly, if I could have chosen who would have taken a free kick, it wouldn't have been Jack Nunes.
Yeah.
Now that I know it, like, who knows? But yeah, so it was a good game though. Very low scoring, only 5 goals for each team. Carlton's goal kicking once again has let us down. I think 5 goals 10 to 5 goals 6 or something like that. So was a little bit slippery up the stadium, but is what it is. Jack Nunes, if you're listening, I love you. But the votes, Ed Curnow, 33 touches in shorter quarters was unbelievable. Luke Ryan, off half-back for Freo, was very good as well.
Putting in a really good year.
Yeah, exactly. And the last vote goes to Sam Walsh. Jacko, you didn't really want Sam Walsh getting the vote, but I think in the last half he was the difference. His goal, he missed one, and I think his ball movement was really good compared to just easy touches and stuff. So
makes sense.
There you go. Big win.
Yeah, Matho, move on to another blowout from Adelaide, who got some serious concerns, and the Dogs starting to find some form.
Yeah, well, Baz Lenker and Marcus Bontempelli was put on a display. I think Bont gets 3 votes. He was unbelievable.
Definitely.
Bailey Smith are very close too. But like we've said in the past few podcasts, Adelaide are in big, big trouble.
They are.
They didn't really look at any stage of the game in the game at all. I think I'm not really sure what to say for Adelaide anymore because they are in that big of a trouble.
Yeah, you wouldn't think
they're not going to win a game all year.
I think
No.
their biggest game will be Adelaide Oval against Hawthorn. I think that's the only game they might be able to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But like we said, it's just where do you start with Adelaide? Like you said last episode, Jacko, they're going to need a big name player in every position, or a decent player that is in most positions.
Yeah,
And
Brad Crouch pretty much confirmed leaving as well.
Exactly. And like Carlton, everyone sees that the rebuild has been taking a little while, and we probably still haven't completed it. Brisbane, like Jacko as well, the rebuild was a 2-year thing. It was a little bit longer than that.
6 or 7 years, really.
Yeah, exactly. So how long do you reckon Adelaide will be out of contention for?
6-7 years.
No, but the AFL is so much different now because Adelaide will end up getting priority picks because the AFL hates when a club's bad. You see Gold Coast get all their priority picks, and now they're in the mid-table. So I think it only takes 3 years. Adelaide will get first draft pick. Now they'll get a top 10 draft pick in compensation for Brad Crouch. And then they also get GWS's draft pick from this year, as they traded it last year. So they could potentially have 3 top 10 picks, all to go on to be superstar players. So I think it only takes them 3 years to go back to being a respectable club.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely fair enough.
The votes. Oh wait, what were you going to say, Jacko?
I was going to say, do we think Marcus Bontempelli's was the best game of the year? That in one individual performance, 2 goals, 33 touches, going at 81% with 12 clearances and 9 tackles.
Second best for me. I think Dusty's performance there in the year. It helps that Bont's performance was against Adelaide. It was an amazing performance. I'd have it second best, but it definitely helps when you're versing a team like Adelaide.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
True.
And I think a few of Lockie Neal's games get not missed, but because he's having so many good games now, they kind of go under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I think Lockie Neal. What game did he? He had a blinder one game. I think.
Kick 2 had 30 touches in one of the games.
Yeah, I think, and his influence on the game that game as well was huge. But like you said, Jacko, Bontempelli's influence and his game warrants the 3 votes.
Yeah.
Bailey Smith 2, and Aaron Norton 1. I think he's been a good inclusion coming back from injury.
Yeah, it was big goals for Aaron Norton.
And makes a big difference in Western Bulldogs forward line.
Definitely.
And VK moving on to, another disappointing loss for Essendon against St Kilda.
Just used to it at this point, boys. There's nothing really much to say about Essendon except we're just dreadful. Yes, we have injuries, but even with the injuries back, I don't see us being a top 8 side. Max King made all our defenders look like nothing. Hurley had not used to seeing Hurley play like that, but he played dreadful. We'll put my hand up and say that. Ryder against his former side was impeccable. He took the piss a bit. So, boys, what do you reckon Essendon need? I don't know. I'm lost for words for my own team. What do Essendon really need to turn their club around to the shambles it's been since the 2001 season, really?
Yeah, well, I think Joe Danaher, I think, will leave at the end of this year. So you're obviously going to need another key forward. Of course, Joe Danaher is probably on close to $800,000, so you'll get a lot of money in the salary cap to free up to bring in another big forward. And then I think the midfield set with Shields, Merritt, and McGrath, with Parrish running through there, Zara Ruckers every now and then. Sard, I think, would be good to see him run through the midfield every now and then. Of course, he is Essendon's only rebounding defender. But yeah, it would be good. Ridley is doing well at the back line. So maybe someone to take over from the aging Hurley and Hooker. I think they're both in their 30s now. So they
32 and 31.
Exactly. And they'll need a ruckman. I think the biggest one.
I don't know about ruckman. I reckon Draper's going to turn to a great player, in my opinion. But we'll see. He's played 3-4 games. Can't really comment on that yet.
No, I think the biggest one is their inability to sign a good coach. Of course, they're doing this silly transition year with Ben Rutten and stuff like that. So, I would be nice to see him get a coach who can bring them. Wouldn't be surprised if one day they get, an Alistair Clarkson or something, or, John Worsfold, sort of said that, he could leave. Of course, a lot of clubs have been trying to poach Adam Simpson over the years. Wouldn't be surprised if Michael Voss got another run at it, being assistant coach of Port Adelaide for quite some time now. But yeah, I think they just need someone new and someone to be able to bring, because they've got all the names as them. They've said it for a number of years, Their elite players are elite, except their bottom half players are just so poor.
It's the worst in the AFL. Worst depth in the AFL for me.
I reckon consistency as well is what they need. I know Essendon's injury list, probably not as bad as Collingwood, but the names on that list, I think a fair few of them do fit into your best 22.
Oh, yeah.
Your forward line right now, I think Tippum Woody isn't himself this year. He's been missing a lot of games.
He should be dropped. He shouldn't be in the team.
You can't tell him to play like Tippum Woody, though, because he's still he's still your best forward by a long way.
Right now, without Stringer in there,
without
Stringer and Danaher, and having McKernan as your go-to full forward, I think.
Wait, I wanted to put out a stat for McKernan. He hasn't kicked a goal since the Collingwood game, I think in round 7. He has a full forward, hasn't kicked a goal in 2 months, and he's played nearly every game.
Yeah.
I'm kicking more goals than him at full forward. Some of the players at the club, ridiculous to be honest with you.
It's consistency, really. I think you just need a big full forward. Like Jacko said, after Danaher leaves, I think you need to really try and get
Ben Brown. We should be looking at.
Yeah, Ben Brown, I reckon, would be a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So for the votes, Jones, who's fit into St Kilda's midfield to perfection, really, this year, giving him the 3 votes. Ryder against his old team's Class, and Battle, who's starting to become a pretty good player for the Saints. One of their younger players will get the 1 vote for me in this game.
Mm-hmm. Move on to, no surprise, the West Coast Hawthorn game. West Coast, you'd say they're premiership favourites, pretty much everyone. Would you say yes?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I reckon. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Especially if they can get their grand final at Optus, I don't think anyone will beat them there.
I think Jetta Hansen, long-time listener, how you going, Jed? He said recently West Coast come good at the important part of the season, which I reckon is 100% correct.
That's true.
Start of the season, everyone wasn't really picking them for top 4 spot, but now they've found form, went back over to Perth, and a lot of teams I find have gone really well in hubs, and others have struggled.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So obviously it's unprecedented and it's never been done before. But I mean, like Jetta said, they've come good at the important time, and I reckon if they can get a few finals over in Perth, they're a real good chance.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the biggest talking point out of this game was in the last minute of the game, James Sicily confirmed with an ACL injury. How big is that for Hawthorn? Not just for the rest of this year, because this year's pretty much gone, but next year, how big is that for them?
It's enormous. He's the best player, really.
Your team, Jacko, or your second team? Do you pick Sicily as your most important player?
At the Hawthorn Football Club, Tom Mitchell is the best player, but James Sicily is the most important player.
Yep.
It's sort of
accurate.
Sort of like it. The thing about the Brisbane Lions, I was thinking about the other day. I say, our best players, Lockie, Neil Harris Andrews, Charlie Cameron, but showing without Daniel Rich. I think Daniel Rich is our 4th most important player, but he would be maybe the 10th best player ability-wise, but he's so important for us. And that's the same with James Sicily. He's their best key defender and he's their best key forward. And he plays key forward for 5 minutes of the game. And he's still better than all their key forwards. That's how important he is for him.
I reckon that's what warrants a lot of people. Like, Jacko, you'll talk about Brisbane. Vico, you'll talk about Essendon. And obviously I'll talk about Carlton. But we all say, underrated players from our own clubs because they perform a role at that club that no one else really sees. And like you just said, Jacko, Daniel Rich, if you didn't watch Brisbane games, you wouldn't understand that he's your 4th most important player. And like Ed Curnow for Carlton, I find him that he's not rated as much as what he should be.
Yeah. And
his disposal efficiency wasn't amazing against Fremantle, but 33 touches I think was outstanding. And VK, Who do
Probably
you normally
Jordan.
say?
I say Jordan Ridley. You think is one of the most
Yeah.
underrated players.
At the moment, yeah, definitely. But he's only done it for 4 or 5 games, so it'd be players like McGrath who's starting to get rated now. But I've found him pretty impressive, and Parrish as well. Parrish for me is very underrated.
Parrish, definitely.
He's a gun, Parrish.
So, other than a player from your team, who would you say is the most underrated player in the AFL?
Sort of hard considering not from your own team. I don't know.
I
It's
like
a hard question. It's a hard question on the
Hawkins
spot.
before they even before Hawkins started kicking all those goals. I still found Hawkins one of the most underrated. He's one of the smartest football players I've watched.
Hawkins has always been a
doesn't
rated player, though. Hawkins
but
has
not
been
not as
underrated.
high as what I rate him for me. I reckon, especially. But I can't really think of anyone on the spot, right? McRae at the start of the year, now he's rated a bit more, like what me and Jacko said in the first episode, and Hugh McCluggage is I don't know how to pronounce his name, but you know what I mean. Yeah, him as well. He's definitely a bit underrated.
Yeah, I reckon after watching the Fremantle game on the weekend, I think Fremantle's, not so much this year, but they are definitely an underrated. Some of their players are so underrated. Like I think a fair few people said Michael Walters didn't deserve to be in the All-Australian last year. But if you watch his game closely, and because they're over in Perth and not that time difference is anything, but if you watch his game, his influence on the game is like no other, and I think does really, really go underrated.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The interstate clubs from Melbourne, prime example of this. 3 weeks ago, when Jed said something into our group chat about Jared Lyons, Lachlan Blizzard goes, "Who is that?" Considering Jared Lyons is one of Brisbane Lions' best players and one of the, I put him in top 50 players in the competition. But because he's not playing for a Melbourne club, you just don't hear about him as much, So that's why.
Exactly.
I think one of the most underrated players, who would come back to that question, might be Dane Rampy from Sydney, how important he is to their back line. And, of course, now we're out with our broken hand, re-broken hand for the rest of the year. Make it really tough for them. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the competition.
100%. I agree.
I guess quick votes going back to that West Coast Hawthorn game. Tom Barras got the 3 votes, and he is really impressive, the young player. 2 votes goes to Liam Ryan, who, of course, had that sad passing of his nephew a couple of weeks ago. And he's starting to put in some really good games. Took 3 really good pack marks. We gave 1 vote to Tom Mitchell, who was by far Hawthorn's best player in a real struggling team. Another thing to come out of that Hawthorn game, Jager O'Meara with a surgery on his hand or something. So he's out for the next 2 to 3 weeks, they said. So Hawthorn may, not win another game for the rest of the year. And that Adelaide game might be, I think if they lose to Adelaide, I think Alistair Clarkson's job might be in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially with Jeff Kennett there, being one of the most vocal presidents in the AFL, one of the most cutthroat presidents, you just never know what could happen.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
VK, moving on to the final game of the round, Richmond Gold Coast.
Richmond Gold Coast. Gold Coast put up a good fight in this game. Richmond ended up obviously winning it in the end. But the big talking point in this one is the Tom Lynch incident. He did end up getting fined. There's been a lot of incidents like this throughout the year. Probably none have been to this extent, I wouldn't say. But do you guys reckon it warrants a fine? What are your thoughts on it? Maybe a suspension?
Suspension 100%.
But I think I'd love to see him get suspended, but I don't think the AFL would suspend someone for that.
Yeah.
I think that the problem with the AFL tribunal system is that it's too reliant on someone's injury.
Yeah.
If he goes down and he's broken his rib or something, he gets 5 weeks.
It's like the Zach Merritt one
exactly.
in the St Carlton game. If he wasn't injured off that, who did he hit again, Matho?
Jack Silvani.
If he didn't get injured off that, then he's not getting a week, but he did get a week.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's like Jack Silvani come out and said that he was just lucky to hit a sweet spot that unfortunately fractured his rib.
Exactly.
I think if it was anyone else, it was probably a little bit more bulky. It wouldn't have hurt as much.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you saw the pain that he was in. I think Sam Collins, the ball was coming down as well. So
Fry's
if the ball was up, exactly.
Playing well.
if the ball was up the other end of the field, I reckon if Sam Collins went to the ground, he would have got a week. But because the ball was coming in and Lynch was on the lead, I think he had to try and stay with him as much as he could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had to get back up and try to push through.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
You could see the frustration from St. Collins after the game, of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
Seeing
yeah.
him coming into the room, punching the wall, then sitting by himself, because he's starting to become one of the best defenders in the competition. Of course.
Yeah, he's been good.
Started his career out, then got delisted, then started playing. I think it was at the Box Hill Hawks last year, and I think he took the most intercept marks in the VFL League last year. So then, Gold Coast decided, we've got to pick him up. I think it was the rookie draft he may have gone in, and going back, long time Friars boy.
Get him on the potty, Sam Collins. If you're listening, jump on, mate.
Absolutely. He's been in great form this year. The votes, Cochin with 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for Richmond to have him back. Lacosis, is that how you pronounce
Jack
it?
Lacocious.
Lacocious. He's going to get the 2, and Anderson with his first votes from JLJ Brownlow of his career, and may have got one in the real. We'll have to see, but he played well.
Yeah, no.
Jack Lacocious was big for him, I reckon.
He was. Yeah, he was really good. I think if Gold Coast won that game, he would have picked up 3 votes.
Yeah, for sure. But in saying that, like we've been saying most episodes, I think Gold Coast's future with all these young players is looking really, really promising.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And I think the whole of the AFL would like to see them go all right, I reckon, because they've been a shit side since their existence.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And one of the big other talking points in the Gold Coast, of course, is Big Matt Real. With his notepad and he's,
He's a weird dude. He's
so funny. He's, when they got interviewed the next day, what are you on there? Oh, I'm counting how many times Noel Anderson fumbles the ball. Which is really good to see best mates, pushing each other to be better and better. And,
exactly.
I have no doubt that those two will be, all Australian players in, 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Promising signs.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of young players down there. All right, guys, that's the end of the JLJ podcast this week. Make sure you like and subscribe for us. Next week, hopefully, we'll have our big corporate week with the mid-season All-Australian, which should be very exciting. A couple of controversial things coming along that way. So make sure you're tuning for that. Make sure you go check us out on Instagram and Facebook where we post our daily updates. And, see you guys.
See you later.